that was Frieren episode 3. And yeah, I gotta say, I'm really glad that we are still continuing on the high quality that the first 2 episodes have presented. I mean, yes, episodes 3 and 4 are released simultaneously with 1 and 2, right? Back in the premiere about a week ago. But still, though, it still surprises me like how much effort has been put into this show. It really does. I mean, just from like the beautiful cinematography, the beautiful storyboarding in this episode alone, the background art being just eye candy, and this episode also presented like some really well directed action sequences as well, with a lot of really good framing, a lot of really good moments as well. And it's over the top, but it's not way over the top, right? It's over the top in terms of like the animation and its presentation, but it's not like the characters are flipping on air and jumping and flying around and going whooshing and wishing and all that stuff like a superhero. Like, I don't mind that. That is like beautiful stuff that you usually see in like shonen action animes and stuff like that. Like, they are really great. Don't get me wrong. They're beautiful. But there's something about the way that fight in this episode of Frieren that it's unique. It doesn't feel like your contemporary anime fight scene. Because essentially both of these 2 characters, they are just fighting using their range weapon, essentially, right? Because that was basically the fight, right? The 2 parties are just standing where they are. One of them is offensive on it, and the other one is defensive on it. And that's pretty much it. Like, nobody's like flipping around, dodging and weaving and all. No, they're just standing still. And it showcases the power of their magic and their abilities, right? Where I don't need to fly around and do all these crazy gymnastics. No, I just need to stand still and shoot them. But it's so well done. This entire fight scene, the idea of it itself is really unique, and I really love it as well. Like the idea of, yeah, back in the day, hundreds of years ago, 80 years in the case of this Frieren episode. Yeah, my magic, my powers are super effective. They're really powerful. They're really, triple S tier level magic, whatever you want to call it. Nowadays? Nah, man. That's like ancient magic now. And that is funny, beautiful, and also very thematic in terms of like what this show is trying to represent. The old ways are the old ways. Things that have been used in the past that are revolutionary, that are different, and that are essentially powerful, are pretty mundane things today. They're not really the super powerful weapon that you once thought they were. It's kind of like nuclear power. Not really, but in terms of like, or well, I guess fire. Fire would be like a better thing to compare rather than nuclear power. Because essentially what I was trying to do with what I was about to say with my example with nuclear power is that before, nuclear fission is something that at the time was incomprehensible, and yet it happened, and everybody's afraid of its power and its capabilities and how it can be used for destruction. Nowadays, nuclear power is used for a lot of things, usually for a lot of good things, right? From medical advances to powering up cities. That is essentially what is happening with the Zoltrak spell or whatever that the villain of this episode has presented, right? It was used to destroy things and whatever, but nowadays it's been used for the advancements of the human civilization. It's being used in this episode, like some of the images are like for carving and for building objects, for essentially crafting, building things and stuff like that. That is the change that 80 years have presented upon this spell. And for him, it's like incomprehensible. How? This is the most powerful weapon that I've ever created. This is the most powerful weapon in this world. And it's normal now. 80 years have passed, and in that 80 years, the advancements in technology and civilization and spell crafting has tremendously eclipsed what happened before. And I find the use of magic to showcase this advancement in time to be very effective in this episode. Like, I use the nuclear power as an example, but like other uses can be like anything can be, a perfect example for this. Like the airplane, for example. 100 years ago, airplanes are not as good as today's airplanes, and that was like 100 years ago. Heck, even 80. What happened to our history 80 years ago? The advancements in technology in our civilization is rapid. It's so rapid that it's insane to think about it. If you've ever been with your grandfather, your grandmother, your grandparents, your great-grandparents or whatever, like, for us, holding a smartphone is easy because this is something that we have been using for a very long time. We know how this works. It's very advanced. The world is essentially in the palm of your hand because you can just browse the internet and all that stuff. "50 years ago, they're still using telephone lines. Its only use is for communicating one-to-one, and sometimes it's not really effective. Sometimes the range isn't, that long or that distant. For many people, this is still an anomaly. This phone is still an anomaly for a lot of people. Like, how is this possible?" And I find the use of, once again, like, I find that we are using this type of storytelling of like the old meeting the new, and how the new has way surpassed the old, and using it in terms of like magic and spell casting in the world of this fantasy show is unique, and I don't think I've ever actually seen it done before. I'm trying to think, but yeah, I don't think I've ever seen this being brought up before. That's fascinating. I mean, there's probably a lot of other fantasy science fiction stories out there that are also dealing with these types of themes and such, but I'm just saying that as somebody who is watching Frieren for the first time, it's surprising that this is my first time being, let's just say, exposed to this sort of presentation. It's really fascinating. And all of that is just used as a backdrop for an incredibly well-directed, well-orchestrated, well-sequenced fight scene. And yeah, it's a really great fight scene. Not a lot of screaming, not a lot of, it's like I said, it's not the usual shonen action heavy fight scene. It's just a fight scene. And a really good one. I don't want to showcase too much of the footage on the discussion, unfortunately, because the last time I did it on my discussion for episodes 1 and 2, it got copyright claim and it got blocked worldwide, and that was kind of frustrating, so I apologize. But overall, I do enjoy the presentation of this fight scene a lot. Like a lot of there's so much impact frames in this fight scene alone, and it's really good. It's really good. It's very appealing to the eye. That was great. Now, the rest of this episode, more particularly towards the beginning of this episode, was really sweet. It was really wholesome. I think what this show has done well, at least so far for 3 episodes, is it knows how to start a scene. And what I mean is that they showcase an establishing shot, they zoom in on it, and then we focus on the characters. It's like, hey, look. Let's start from the very beginning. Like, boom, establishing shot. We are in the trade city of Worm, located in the Central Lands. We see the beautiful coastline. We see the I guess the port of the city. We see the walls of the city, but we also see like some of the sailing ships just right in the distance. And then we zoom in. We see the sailing ships right that we saw in the distance. Zooming in again. Then we saw like a cat in the stone walls as well. Like, it's like all of these things that we are focusing on currently are things that we see immediately in this first establishing shot. Like, we know where the ships are in relation to where the cat is, in relation to where Frieren is. Like, that is so well done. That is so well done. And this has happened in the first 2 episodes as well. And it will probably happen again in the next couple of episodes. Like it's great. This is good direction. We know where the sailing ships are. We know where the cat is. And now we zoom in on Frieren and Fern, who are now in the city trying to do what they're trying to do. Frieren being a little sneaky. Let's split up. And I really do love how Frieren in this episode is really trying to engage with Fern in terms of like her character and their relationship and their bond, their friendship, because that is the one thing that Frieren regretted when it comes to her previous party, when it comes to Himmel, when it comes to Hater, when it comes to Aizen. These are all characters that Frieren has known for 10 plus years, and she left them, right? She left them after 10 plus years, came back, returned to them 50 years later. 50 years for Frieren is nothing, but 50 years for them is a long time without them being together. And suddenly, Frieren feels the regret of, oh shit, I wasted 50 years not being with them. All those things that Frieren has done in those 50 years, she could have done that anytime. You know what I mean? Like, she could have done that after their friend's passing. But she didn't. She chose to leave. She chose to pursue her own adventure. And time flies for her. Then she comes back, realizes how old all of her friends are, and all of them are dying one by one. And she feels that regret. And this is something that we talked about in the first 2 episodes and the review and the discussion in that, right? Frieren now, with us, the audience, will try to build a new relationship, will try to bond with new friends, with new characters. But instead of skipping over the 10 year of them being together, skipping over the 50 years that they've been together, we're going to be there because we are going to be focusing on that part. Maybe the real adventure is the friends we made along the way. And I feel like this is the perfect show to showcase that. This really is the adventure that we make, is the friends we make along the way. The real treasure, that is. Even Fern was asking that, right, during the second half of this episode, where Fern was asking, yeah, so what are we doing? What is the purpose of this journey? What are we doing here? And I was about to make the joke of nothing, right? And that is exactly what Frieren says. Nothing. There is no particular goal. We're just going around, and I feel like that is going to be where the entire show is going to be about. It's about the adventure. It's about learning new things. It's about making friends. It's about returning past favors. It's about reconciliation. It's about meeting old acquaintances. Because that is exactly what we've been doing for the past 2 episodes, right? The old lady in episode 2 was a young lady in the flashback. Here, the old person was a young kid who was flipping off Frieren's skirt, which is very inappropriate for his age. But these are all people that Frieren has met in the past, and we're going to be seeing a lot of other older people in this show, and I don't mind that. It works also as a means to remember the past, right? A lot of the flashbacks that we saw in this episode is a direct response to something that another character does that one of the previous members of the party did to Frieren, right? During the first half of this episode, Frieren and Fern, after they are, when they are eating and they are just figuring out like what do they want to order and stuff. Fern has known Frieren for a long while, to the point where Fern knows and understands Frieren. I know what you love to eat. I know what you love to drink. I know your habits. They have bonded. They have learned more. And I guess no. Let me take that back. They both haven't learned, but Fern has. And the reason why is because Frieren still doesn't understand Fern yet. That is why she was hesitating on like, is this a good gift? I don't know you. I don't know you that much, but I hope this is a good gift. Whereas with Fern, she already completely understands Frieren's habits, her expressions, even when she was like snooping around and peeking Frieren. She's like, oh yeah, I know that expression, I know that reaction, I know what she's thinking. And yet Frieren still doesn't know what Fern likes in terms of like jewelry and stuff like that. But maybe that's the other thing, right? You don't need to fully know a character, do you? It's the thought that counts, right? That's essentially it. Frieren is trying so hard to choose, a gift that screams Fern, but sometimes that's not the point. For Frieren, that is her goal, right? Her secret goal, right? Her desire to learn more about humanity and other characters, right? To learn about other people that don't live as long as her. And I feel like she's really trying hard to understand and to learn them, and it is really sweet and wholesome, but at the same time, it also showcases, I guess, the weakness in that understanding. Yes, you do. It is great to understand people, but when it comes to stuff like this, trying to figure out like, I wonder what type of jewelry that Fern is going to like. I don't know. I don't understand you. I don't fully know your taste, what you would like, and all that stuff. Maybe that's not your biggest concern. Fern accepted it no matter what, because it came from the heart, right? It came from Frieren, and that's all that matters. That entire first half of the episode is great. The second half is also great. I do love that we essentially got 2 stories in one in this episode. The first story is about Frieren and Fern and their relationship and their bonding and their growth as a pair. And then in the second episode, we got more of that reconciliation and the return to the past, or the past finally catching up to the present, which when the past catches up with the present, the end result is the past realizing that, yeah, they are called the past for a reason. The present is ever moving forward, and you got left behind big time. So, really fantastic set of episodes. Set of episodes? Just one episode. Really great episode. Curious to know what episode 4 is going to be about, because that is supposed to be the end of the hour-long special that the premiere is supposed to be, right? Episodes 1 and 2, again, like I said before, like episodes 1 and 2 feels like they work together as a back-to-back episode. Episode 3 feels more like what the rest of the show might be. It's going to be Frieren and Fern and maybe a few other party members that will join, going off on their adventure, learning about new things, learning about Frieren's past, learning about the other characters, understanding these other characters, and understanding these emotions and these feelings. Have an important lesson of the day, and then move on. I feel like that's going to be the formula for the rest of the show moving forward. Now I'm starting to, I guess, understand the slice of life aspect of this show. And again, I could be wrong. This could be just like in the beginning episodes where we're just tagging along and having random adventures. I don't know. Maybe we will eventually do get an overarching narrative where, the Demon King's son, daughter, family member, whatever, is out for revenge, and now evil has returned. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I feel like the point of the Demon King having an appearance is for him to die in the beginning of the story. It's like, no, the big threat is over. That is the point, right? The point of the show, the point of the story is that there is no big evil left for us to vanquish. That is done. That story is over. That story is in every other fantasy show, every other fantasy story, every other story in general, not just fantasy. Go watch that instead. We're going to be focusing on something else. The focus is the adventurers, the world, and everybody else after that vanquish. What happens after Sauron gets defeated in Lord of the Rings? The Fourth Age begins. And that is essentially where we are. I'm pretty sure there's a big war in the Fourth Age of the Lord of the Rings, so I don't know. Again, like, at least for now, I feel like for the first couple of episodes, I'm not feeling an overarching narrative, except for the obvious one, and that is for Frieren to learn more about herself and connecting with other people and making memories, and like that's basically it, right? So I don't know what else to expect. So that is going to be very interesting, and that's going to be like the thing that I am curious about in the future. Because I do believe that this is like 24 episodes, 2 cours, maybe more. I don't know. And the manga is still going, I believe, right? So I don't know what's currently going on in the manga. But given that this is 2 cours, 24 episodes, there's a lot to cover. There's a lot of story that they can show. So who knows? Thank you all so much for tuning in to my reaction review of Frieren episode 3. If you do enjoy this video, hit the like, subscribe, you know the drill. Early access available on the Patreon, links in the description below. And I will see you all next time. Take care, everybody. Have a nice day. Peace.